Bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about
comic books, costumes,
Facts. Boots.
and other stuff.
in this week's issue, Ultimate Warrior, or just Warrior.
Welcome into Bros, Foes, and Heroes. I am Zach, joined as always by my co-host Mike.
Hello.
And Mike, today's episode of our comics podcast, or comic book podcast,
Right.
is related to a comic book, but the character is not a comic character.
Right.
It's a, how will I put this? It is a creation of a different universe
Yes.
that has been, used. I'm trying to make it sound cooler than it is. It's a wrestler.
Right.
Not to say that wrestling isn't cool, because I absolutely love wrestling.
Right. Right.
But it is Mr. Jim Hellwig, also known as the Ultimate Warrior, or should I say, I'm sorry, his name was actually Warrior. He changed his name legally to Warrior in the 90s. So
Their real names are always so disappointing, aren't they? Jim Hellwig.
sometimes, well, but they're all playing, at least especially at this time in the 80s, larger than life characters. What they come up to be.
Sure.
Like nobody names their kid. Like when he was in World Class in Dallas, they called him Dingo Warrior. Like
Dingo
nobody
Warrior,
names
really?
their kid Dingo Warrior.
Maybe.
Nowadays, you never
Yeah,
know. But
sure.
my point is, like, it's always going to be a little less cool then.
Yeah.
But
When I was teaching, I had kids named after Jell-O flavors.
really,
And then one named after a gas station.
what's the gas station one?
It's got 2 X's in it.
Okay,
That one.
gotcha.
The one that makes birds dirty.
So, what I wanted to present, though, before we got into...
I don't mean to minimize that. I just want to say that was just a joke.
No, that's fine.
They make birds dirty.
Just laugh at where our planet's at, Mike.
Sure.
So we're going to take away before I cry about our current ecological situation, and we're going to focus on
Sure.
the I don't know.
Ichthyological.
What is the environment?
Ecological, yeah.
Ecological?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it, yeah.
I guess a little bit I should explain for people not familiar.
I like how you trusted
With
me on
wrestling.
that. I could have said anything.
I know you could have, and I would have believed you, though. That I'd give you way too much trust.
Yeah, most people do.
But Jim Hellwig was a man, just to briefly kind of describe his career as a wrestler before we get into everything as
Always
the comic book.
fascinated by these, by the way. Their background, how they got there, the time they put in, all that stuff.
So
I think you and I last week, we talked about Mankind.
Yes.
After the show. We talked about
and
Mankind.
I love Mick Foley.
Yeah.
Absolutely adore Mick Foley.
Wrestler's a wrestler. He's that kind of guy,
Even though I did hear something, no, never mind. That's a super
please don't
wrestling nerdy thing to say that I would go off on a tangent for.
Sure.
That it's for a different podcast with somebody who would like to hear my stories about wrestling. So I can't. Jim
Tune in
Hellwig
next
though,
week for wrestling stories. Wrestling.
Jim Hellwig though,
Yeah.
is he basically he learns to become a chiropractor. I can tell you.
Wait, what?
He is a chiropractor at the beginning. I guess let me back up.
We've already taken a turn here.
How much info do you want about his backstory?
I would love all of it. Yeah,
Okay.
give me all of it. From the tassely boots all the way
Here's
up.
what I know in like a TLDR,
Okay.
Too Long Didn't Read,
Yep.
synopsis of Ultimate Warrior.
If you say too long didn't read, aren't you like...
I just
Okay.
did
All right.
it, but
Okay.
to be honest, and this is going to sound, I didn't know if you...
SMH.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Maybe some of our listeners didn't get it though, and so I was explaining it to them. Now they know.
Yeah.
Jim Hellwig, I know that something that bothers him early on in life is that his father leaves their family when he's like 11 or 12.
Oh, that is a bummer.
And it does bother him. I also
sure.
know that he, according to his first wife, always had really bad bouts of anxiety that he always had to deal
For
with.
some reason, I thought you were going to say body odor.
Don't know about that, but he was always a really skinny kid.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And then he started working out in high school.
Okay.
And just fell in love with like he was able to like turn into something. Like
Yeah,
what he
yeah,
was
yeah.
able to transform into.
Well, he was able to turn into
Yeah.
the ultimate
So
warrior
he
or
was-
dingo warrior.
Well,
if you
or
were in on the ground
he
floor.
was Blade Runner Rock at one point in time.
What the who?
Or Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
They were the Blade Runners, and it was Rock and Sting. And yes, it was that Sting because they both broke in at the same time. And
He
I can
was
explain
Rock?
that too. He was Rock,
Not the Rock.
not the Rock, just Rock. It
He
was
did
like
not smell what you were cooking.
no, that's a lot later.
Okay,
But
sure.
so he became obsessed with like working out, and he became a bodybuilder.
Mm-hmm.
Like he ended up winning like a Mr. Georgia or whatever, like in the mid '80s, like
Okay.
a bodybuilding
Yeah,
thing.
sure.
And he wanted to learn, or he learned to went to school to become a chiropractor to just learn more, I guess, about the body and stuff. Don't know why he picked chiropractic.
Okay, sure.
But still, well, that
Well,
was
it's the one that Sally
fulfilling.
Field was on TV about. TV VCR, chiropractic, elder law,
is that-
those kind of things. Sure.
Completely forgot about those commercials. I was lost at 1st, and then I remember those would randomly pop up on
Yeah.
like Cartoon Network. Like,
Oh, yeah.
sometimes they would have random like infomercials like that.
No,
pop
it wasn't
up
Sally.
that
I
wasn't
think
for,
I said Sally Field, but
You
it,
did,
it
but I
wasn't.
know the
It
one
was,
it was.
what's her name from? I was going to say Good Times, but that's wrong too. It's from All in the Family. It's the lady that cared about the kids.
Was it Edith?
Starving? No, the blonde one,
Oh yeah.
Whatever that name is.
Meathead's wife.
Mrs. Meathead.
Yeah, Mrs. Meathead. I love how sometimes I'm good with names and other times I'm just completely awful.
Yeah,
But so,
Mrs. Meathead.
after he's not, it seems like he's not fulfilled
Sally
by those
Struthers.
careers. Sally Struthers.
Thank
there
you.
you go. That he's not fulfilled by the chiropractic work. He goes and
Wait, what? He's not fulfilled?
it's not. Yeah,
Come
it's
on.
not what he wanted. I think his in
Cracking backs, brother.
they recently there's a show on Vice called Dark Side of the Ring that has a lot of great stories that they did
Oh.
an episode on him that kind of there's stuff it skips over that's absolutely ridiculous that happens too, but it's a nice little
will
45-minute watch.
I will say I love Vice for their stuff.
They have a lot of great stuff.
They're way too into weed, but other than that, boy, their journalistic stuff is really
Fantastic. And all the show, the Dark Side of the Ring, it like spawned. Now they have like a Dark Side of Football, Dark
Oh,
Side
really?
of the 90s.
Oh.
But it started with the wrestling series, and it is really good.
good. Guess what I'm watching?
Especially if like, you don't know a lot, because
Yeah.
like it's a lot of these, wrestling stories that at least people who've always been into it kind of like, know about, but it's
Sure.
like a deeper dive.
Yeah.
So for some who know, then it's more info.
Mm-hmm.
Or for those who've known for all time, it's like, oh, this is a nice, collection. And for the people who don't, then it's a cool little intro to it. But so
For those who know, it's more info.
there you go.
Sure.
It's a tagline for our
Great,
show.
I love it.
Now you know.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't stop rhyming.
Bring.
Shooting star. So he meets. They end up moving out to California.
Okay.
And while he's out there, he meets a man by the name of Steve Borden.
Okay.
Again, you want to talk about names? Steve Borden is also known by his wrestling name of Sting.
Okay. All right.
Right? You remember
Yeah.
Sting?
Oh, yeah.
So both of them decide.
All the versions of Sting.
Sting
Yes.
basically gives him the idea, like, hey, I think we could like get in as wrestlers.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
I think we're both big. Like, Ultimate Warrior is always jacked. I think we could, get into wrestling. And so they send their tapes about somewhere, and they end up getting picked up, and they go through some different territories. Again, I'm not breaking down everything.
Yeah, I got it. Sure,
but
sure.
they go through, and then eventually there's some hostility between the two of them. That's just they're
No,
not getting.
come on.
Yeah, they're not getting along. And it breaks off, and he kind of goes solo. Eventually winds up in the WWF at the time. In the late 80s, early 90s, which was his big run. There's a big 2-3 year window, and maybe even longer there.
Yeah.
His time in the WWF, the first run, is when he came to stardom. And that is
This is like WrestleMania 3, 4, that
5.
kind
Yeah,
of thing.
six, okay. WrestleMania 6 is
Okay.
what everybody
Gotcha.
would remember if they knew, but it's a big match, and it's the first time that something happened basically in the WWF, and it's Ultimate Warrior wrestled Hulk Hogan, and it was the first time in a long time that Hulk Hogan not only lost clean on TV, he's no longer the champion.
Right.
This was a big moment for Vince. Had basically they had spent so many years, which Hulk Hogan is a ridiculous individual as well.
Right.
but he had spent so many years as like the mainstay for them that he was tired, kind of wanted to take a break.
Sure.
So Vince McMahon, the owner, operator, runner of WWF, decided that the Ultimate Warrior was going to be that guy going forward. And then it didn't work out to the same level it did with Hulk.
Right.
Eventually, things kind of fell off. Hulk ended up coming back.
Ultimate Warrior was a big deal.
Ultimate Warrior was a big deal,
but for a very short run.
For a very short time.
Remember the pillow that looked like
The
him?
Wrestle Buddies.
Yeah.
It's funny
Wrestle
you bring that
Buddies.
up. It's funny you bring that up because it's brought up in the Vice show.
Very nice.
That's the moment that he felt like he made it, was during he had the Wrestle.
Oh, I would imagine.
Like, you know.
I remember those commercials.
But the whole story about this guy, and here's what you need to know about Warrior. So he got a lot of fans from then, and then he had multiple runs. He came back multiple times in WWF. It didn't work out. He went to WCW. It didn't work out. Everybody always says the dude was, this is another, at times we'll eventually get to stuff that is not safe for work nor kids with Warrior.
Okay.
Because everything that I've come to know for the most part is everybody thinks he was an asshole to deal with. Just all the way through. That he only thought about himself.
You would think a guy named the Ultimate Warrior would be a really nice guy.
He never cared. Again, and I'm just speaking about his time. Let's just say, I just want to specify during when these comics are being made.
Okay.
Okay. I don't want to talk. I don't like talking ill about the dead and stuff like that.
We're talking about what years here?
So let's talk about actually anytime he was during the wrestling business, he was an asshole. I can't speak about things that happened after because I haven't watched, but I have watched numerous and read numerous things that just show to back it up. Also, there's a lot of comments he made later that he's just kind of, he's homophobic. He's extremely just, his political views are kind of just out there. He's kind of a crazy person and was very opinionated about things that were very.
Did he believe in the reptilians?
I don't think he believed in the reptilians.
Oh, okay.
But so, just not a good guy to deal with. But pursued, obviously, as a character that all the kids love.
He's a wonderful character.
Wonderful character. All the kids love. The problem is, though, it's hard for adults to relate to him because he's like an overblown kids cartoon.
Yeah, sure.
Which is also what they kind of feel like they accredit some of the downfall to. Like, it was just for kids, kind of. And even him coming back, especially like his run in 96, fans in 96 were more getting used to the Attitude Era and could care less about a giant guy painted up. And so,
what was the Stone Cold run?
From like when he became Stone, it's like King of the Ring 96.
Okay.
King of the Ring 96.
So we're talking that's kind of the end of Ultimate Warrior, beginning of Stone Cold.
End of Ultimate Warrior is actually 1991.
Okay.
The first run.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So basically what happens, we haven't even got to the comics, which is kind of funny, but I knew this would happen because he's just an interesting guy to talk about. Yeah. So he decides, the Ultimate Warrior decides, or just Warrior, that
I love how you make that distinction.
I have to, and it's funny because it's brought up in the comics later too.
Okay.
Basically, he's decided to hold up Vince McMahon for money that he feels like he's owed. He's felt like he's owed the same thing.
I feel
as
like
Hulk
that
Hogan.
happened a lot. In wrestling.
Yes. Yeah. Well, especially him. Like the main thing that they say though about him, besides just not being fun to work with and just being an a-hole to deal with, is that he mainly only cared about, they feel like he didn't care about the wrestling business at all. That it was plan C or D and he was just there for the money.
Gotcha.
He never felt Jim Ross, who when it comes to all things wrestling, I will listen to that man talk all day and just love listening to him, said that a really great way to put it was that it seemed like he didn't know about wrestling and had no interest of wanting to know more about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So because of that, he was known as a very stiff guy, and stiff is a wrestling terminology, just like, he would never pull things as much as they do. Yeah. When he would punch you, he'd punch you full force or just be, the main thing is that's really big for wrestlers, obviously, is it's kind of it's a 2-person job in there. Like to tell the story. So a lot of moves that they do and everything that they do takes, work from both sides. So you were trusting the other person with your body and with your health.
Right.
And he was known to be very careless, which obviously a lot of people didn't care about. Do you remember Bobby the Brain Heenan?
Oh yeah.
So there's a story that Bobby Heenan, from his old days in wrestling and stuff, and as an announcer and things like, or a referee and all that, he had a really bad neck. So he always told guys when he was older, like, if you do anything, just be careful.
Up that big brain.
Be careful with my neck.
Sure.
Ultimate Warrior.
He didn't care.
Didn't care.
Yeah.
Shook him like a rag doll. Ended up breaking Bobby's neck.
Yeah.
He went to him. Jim Cornette tells the story because he's like, Bobby told me himself point blank. Went to him, hey, you broke my neck. And Warrior just went, just walked off, shrugged it off.
Wow. Okay.
There's a story that just to tell you the kind of guy to paint the picture here that we're dealing with. There's a story that Jake Robert tells where during this time with him as the new champion and the new face, like, or they end up taking the title back, but they're going back he's got a big run with Warrior coming up. The giant program plan that they're going to do between Jake Roberts and Ultimate Warrior. And he's like, it's going to be great, but you need to go talk to Warrior about it to make sure he's cool. And Jake goes, you're the boss. Why do I have to go make sure that he's cool, like working with me?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And Vince goes, it's just something we got to do. You got to run it by. And he's like, okay. He goes, I walked into Warrior there. Into Warriors. He had a solo locker room.
Warriors cubicle.
Like, that's the thing is apparently Jim Ross brings up another great point is he was a bodybuilder who had never played any other sports. So he didn't know how to deal with a team locker room. That makes total
sense. Yeah. That makes sense. Sure.
So like he asked for his own personal locker room. Like Jake had to go to his locker room. And basically like he gets there and he said the Warrior looked at him and told him like, I don't care about you. I don't care about your family. I don't care about anything you have to deal with. What I care about is me and my money. He goes, you're not going to miss any dates because if you do, you're effing with my money. He's like, you're not going to, and he's like, now get out.
Wow.
Like that. And he was like, from then on, he's like, I just hated the guy.
This is Jake the Snake.
This is Jake the Snake Roberts. Right? Yeah. Huh. Well, here's the thing.
Not a pushover.
No. So he leaves. So they have this big deal planned, right?
Right.
So, about this time, there's some things where he's no longer on top, but he feels like he was just as responsible for keeping the WWF afloat while Hogan was gone and dealing with the steroid trial and stuff like that. He felt like he wasn't rightfully compensated. So he writes this letter, like a handwritten letter to Vince McMahon, and gives it to him, basically telling like, either do this or I'm no showing.
It's just unintelligible. It's just scribbles and it's on a big chief notepad.
And he just tells him like, basically either meet my demands or the SummerSlam pay-per-view that's coming up. I'm the main event of, I'm just not going to show up at.
Wow.
So Vince writes him a letter back and tells him, all right, we'll do this. We'll meet this deal. We'll do that.
Well, and the thing is, it's not like Vince was a nice guy either.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
And the story of how if I can eventually like get it all and figure it out to tell how it would be epic. But
yeah.
So Vince just tells him everything because Vince has the mentality of I have to make sure the match happens at whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Tells Warrior all about that.
It's kind of a big plan. Yeah.
Goes out, does the SummerSlam match, and he's coming back as soon as he crosses the curtains. Jake Roberts has the next match after, or he's standing right by Vince, and Warrior comes running through, and Vince hands Warrior a letter, and Warrior grabs it and looks at it, and he goes, thanks for doing your match. Now get the F out of here. You're fired.
Oh, wow.
That's for standing me up. And then he turned and looked at Jake Roberts, who had this giant, big program, and goes, you have to have the worst luck out of anybody I know. And just turned around and left.
Wow.
And Roberts was like, I was pissed.
Oh, I bet.
Because that was like my big payday of like, I was going to make more than I had. And
yeah.
So there's things like that. Huh. To branch off now from the wrestler into the comics.
Oh, yeah. That's why we're here.
That's why we're
Forgot
here.
about that.
So I brought two things. We have, and we'll get to 1996.
You have a lot here. I mean, it's
not a lot.
It's a thick dossier that you brought in today.
But I just wanted to show how Ultimate Warrior was presented because WWF obviously was trying to market to kids in the 90s. So the first appearance of an Ultimate Warrior in a comic for WWF was these books by Valiant. and which was a company there in the early 90s who did other books for other properties along with WWF. Like if you look at the back of the way out of it, they also did some Nintendo books. Super Mario's on there. I think I had, and I could be mistaken, but I think I had as a kid a Zelda comic that was made by Valiant.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt that.
So, but it's basically what they do here is this one's called just the Ultimate Warriors Workout. And I brought it not really to go over, but just to show the drastic difference, if anything, mainly of how he's portrayed in the 90s and somebody else doing this, of showing like, hey, this is the Ultimate Warrior. Like, you know, he works out by lifting giant rocks and like throwing cinder blocks and like,
exploding.
Oh, he threw it into a scoreboard. It's all larger than life stuff, but they're selling it to kids.
He's throwing logs.
He dodges logs while running up a hill. This is all how he trains, and he's just explaining what it means to be a warrior. But it's very wholesome. There's nothing. I just brought that just for you to flip through.
No, this is wonderful. Yeah. You know, the thing about it, it's not like it's bad art or anything like that. I mean, it's a good looking comic book. Yes. I mean, it's obviously for kids.
I think it's from like 91.
Yeah.
So it's a very, simple comic. It's a story of, and they have other like, wrestlers in there too. Like Sensational Sherry is in there.
He's over here lifting like what has to be 1,000,000 pounds, right? And there's an old man with his pants all hiked up, and he goes, "Geez, be careful, Ultimate." Yeah, it's not a sentence.
No, he's cool enough that you can call him Ultimate.
Ultimate.
So it is a very just lighthearted,
Yeah, sure. It's basically a non-moving cartoon is all it is. I mean, it's like a funny paper.
So,
kind of thing,
the ups and downs, the ins and outs, a lot happens from his high point of where he was wrestling Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6 for the heavyweight championship. And then, to a year.
Can I read a quick quote?
Yeah, read a quick quote.
"We've never used so many logs before. If he isn't at his ultimate best, he'll be jelly."
Oh no, keep reading. There was another jelly reference there.
Another jelly reference. So this is sponsored.
I thought it was something jam. Like
sponsored by Smuckers. Would that be a log jam?
So
it literally says
it does
under it.
So after the highs, there comes a little bit of, there's the firing from WWF.
Sure. Is that in this comic?
No, it's not. But it's like a year after that, around the time. It's like 92 when that happens.
Okay.
Into 91, 92.
Gotcha, sure.
And so like he kind of like goes off and does his own thing for a while. Yeah, that was when Sergeant Slaughter was with the Sheik and all that.
Yeah.
The Iranian conflict. But during this, and he comes back and he has like a stint at a time, but there's this story of how I was always introduced to this, and I never read these comics, but as a wrestling fan, how I always heard the story was Hogan had gone to WCW. Hulk Hogan had. Randy Savage had gone to WCW.
Right, sure.
Everybody was leaving ship. And as talented as Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels were, they weren't able to just, take over the same ratings that WCW was. The Mountie? Yeah.
I don't know who that is. I've never heard of the Mountie.
The Mountie is, and I can't believe I'm blanking on his name right now.
All of these
He's Rougeau. Jacques Rougeau, I think is his name.
Oh, so he's a Canadian guy.
Yeah,
that's why he's the Mountie. Okay, yeah, they went out for the names here.
Yeah,
the Undertaker doesn't even have his hat or anything. That's how early this is. Yeah.
So
Big Boss Man. Oof.
Basically, Vince wants to bring Warrior back because he's made him a star before. He can make it work again. And he's like, Vince has always loved.
They do tend to go to the well a lot.
They do, but it's a Vince thing. Apparently, I find from also listening to a lot of stories and stuff is he believes that he is. Oh, another thing I guess I should add about Warrior real quick, along with him being an a-hole, is the fact that he thinks he's smarter than everybody else too.
Okay, that makes sense.
That would be needed for other parts we're about to get into with the comic book and stuff.
Sure.
But so basically, Vince takes other writers and producers at the time on this meeting out to Arizona where Warrior is living. And while they're out there, basically pitching him and hearing about him coming back, and what they can do in wrestling. He talks to him about his comic book and stuff.
Okay.
And that's all I ever knew was that, and the fact that Bruce Pritchard and Jim Cornette, when they would talk about it, would talk about that he would always talk about destrucity. Now, what destrucity is laid out. I will not say plain and clear, because it is super confusing to me. If you've ever seen Ultimate Warrior cut a promo, that's what all this comic book is like. Because in 1996, in May when this came out, Ultimate Warrior, or just Warrior, because Ultimate Warrior is owned by WWF. That's why he could only change his name to Warrior. Gotcha. Warrior released his own self-published comic called Warrior.
Self-published
by Warrior Creations. And in here, the very first page we get, here, I'll let you. I forgot. I brought my iPad so you could leaf through this. It makes no sense, to me at least, but what destrucity is basically what the warrior lives his life by. Simply put, I'm not going to go into in any of this. I'm basically just going to quickly just summarize stuff because I have tried to read it, but it's super confusing, and that's how he speaks and everything. Mike, this comic lasted 4 issues. I read all 4 issues. Do you want me to tell you what is happening in the comic? Because I can't. So let's get things started, since destrucity is such a big thing of this series, though, of giving you the definition that is provided by the Ultimate Warrior himself.
Dreams are the movies that tell one story.
Some already told, some not yet written.
Boy.
So according to Warrior, destrucity, trifold in its definition.
Trifold.
Therefore meaning, 1, the name of the galaxy in Warrior, wherein the terrain of testament lies.
That's the entire first definition of destrucity.
2,
there's a galaxy in him.
the living of one's life in the way of a warrior according to a warrior's 8 disciplines.
Oh boy, here they come.
Those are as follows: physical, beliefs, moment of mastery, attitude, commitment, association, integrity, and wisdom.
Wisdom being the last one.
3,
Sure.
the creating of a truce between one's destiny and one's reality, promising to stay true to what one is destined to be, yet accepting what is the now one's reality.
Boy, oh boy.
Do you understand destrucity now?
Nope.
Yep, I don't either.
The creating of a truce between one's destiny and one's reality.
So what the
truce?
What the I guess wrestling figures in Bruce Pritchard and Jim Cornette both mentioned, though, is that they're listening to this, not understanding anything, that he's all about destrucity.
Right.
And he's just telling them that this is what Warrior, the character of Warrior, is about. And he's talking to him about all this comic book, and he's just pitching them about this word of destrucity and how it's what the Warrior is, and they don't understand any of it.
Did he pay for this?
Yeah, this is all self-published.
Wow. Okay.
So,
all right.
Funny thing that I'll add in.
Because this is not cheap.
No, it is not.
Yeah, because beautiful art. Beautiful.
Very. By Jim
wonderful.
Callahan.
Callahan and Smith.
I don't remember who Smith is. Yeah, remember Jim Callahan, because that is going to be known for this.
Okay. Poor guy.
But, yeah.
It's going to break his career, I bet.
So, it's funny about this meeting that they had, too, where he's plugging this whole comic book to them and, like, trying to get them to do it. Jim Ross, this is kind of the moment where Jim Ross basically, it seems, starts to dislike Warrior.
Okay.
And it's because he goes, you're around your dudes. You talk however filthy you want to. He goes, Jim Ross is he's an Oklahoma guy. So he's an old Southern guy. And I've had the privilege of interviewing him before. It was very nice. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Very nice.
Good for you.
And I've always liked Jim Ross, but he said that, you talk the way you do around your buddies, but around somebody's wife, he goes, I always make sure just to be respectful and all that. And he goes, and Linda was with us. And he goes,
Linda is his wife?
Linda
JR's
McMahon.
wife?
No, Linda
Oh,
McMahon
Linda
is in
McMahon.
Vince's wife. And obviously, politics and everything aside from this,
Yeah.
when it comes to the two of them, everybody seems to adore Linda.
Yeah.
So
Well,
as
I mean,
person,
if you had the choice between the two, I mean,
but as a person, like Jim Ross said that he had never worked for a nicer lady.
oh,
So
that's cool.
he obviously holds Linda in high regard, but he said that Warrior was just F this, C word that, just like letting everything. And he was like, for him to do that in front of another, just not care, he goes, that just kind of showed me the kind of person he was then.
It shows character, yeah.
He goes, and then the fact that he's like, when we would bring people in, he was like, it was usually that like Vince was there for the first meeting, like even big, like when Hogan came back.
Yeah, sure.
He's like, he's there for the first meeting because they need to see the boss to say what they need to. He goes, but after that, they deal with me. He was like, Warrior felt that he was special. He just dealt with Vince only kind of thing. And so he never liked that either. But it's just interesting stories to hear from this time.
Well, and that's also Vince's fault, for not standing up to him.
Well, if he wanted to well, that's the thing, though, is apparently Vince is completely bites Destrucity hook, line, and sinker.
Oh, he loves it, huh?
At the time,
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's more of him just wanting Ultimate Warrior back. But let's go ahead and get into the comic and try to explain what Destrucity is, and be prepared to not get an answer. Basically, we can flip through this pretty quick because it's all nonsensical. And none of it is really follows anything. So there's a blonde guy who's dressed in like a singlet with tassels wrapped around him. And
he's just like floating.
He's floating. And then all of a sudden he breaks out of the tassels and he's like kind of naked, but not. And red guys are grabbing at him.
Demons looking.
I guess. And then he there's like an explosion from like a meteor, but there's no meteor. It's just him laying down in the crater hole.
Yeah, and he's
bloody.
He's got his single little underwear on.
Yeah,
but he also has his boots.
Yeah, and it's the whole time it's talking and it says things. There's these yellow boxes and red boxes. Like for one, the yellow box says, "Follow me, you bastard. No one spills my blood, then vanishes. I will seek you out wherever." And then the red one says, "Once a man has a vision, he has belief, even if nothing at all."
What?
Yep. And so that's all the taglines for this comic are, things like that. And that's why I'm not going to read through or try to explain the story much, because I really can't follow it. It spoke in a lot of just, again, go watch, and I'm not saying this to be mean because some people like it.
Sure.
But go watch a Ultimate Warrior promo and just imagine a whole comic book with them. And that's what this is here.
Yeah.
But so then all of a sudden, like he's too weak and rain comes over and then he's frozen.
Okay. And then he like loses his underwear, I guess.
But it comes back. I don't know. He loses the singlet.
So hang on one second. There is a sentence here by him that says, "Time to get folked."
I forgot about that.
Folked.
This is the first one too. He creates his own words in this comic. There's 3 instances. You have discovered the first one, right?
I did it. Yeah.
And if you will look under his eyes, he is given a definition where folked means focused.
Oh, okay. Why not just say focused?
Don't know.
Okay.
Folked means focused. Folk comes up a lot.
Folked.
He's like, gotta stay folk.
Time to get folked.
You will see that a couple times throughout this.
The terrain of Testament.
That is where he's at. He's just like moving along the terrain of Testament. It looks great. There's like, he looks up to the stars and there's like the Ultimate Warrior logo and the stars. And then his eyes roll back in his head. And then it just says Destrucity again. And it's like he's standing next to a very tall guy who's holding his hand. And then he like dips his hand in the water. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm kind of a little bit.
It's almost like Zeus or something, right?
And then it says
out in the water.
Set in stone, as in a father, yes, son, yours I have been. That's right. Ghost dad in the lake. So.
And he's like twice as big as Ultimate
is. Apparently his dad is a lake ghost.
Oh.
And
I love
again,
that.
I don't really know. We
Blake
see
goes,
like flashes of like a time past where he's like
I think he fought with his brother.
fighting some dude.
Is that a brother?
It doesn't say your conception challenged in the living of your life as a warrior, balanced in the definition of disciplines, destrucity.
What?
I can't even. Yeah, that's just I'm reading it verbatim.
What?
Like usually it's me messing up English, but
All that surrounds you exists for you have drawn it before you, your destiny. Okay.
so
Sure.
like he dips his hands in the water and then it comes
But
up
it's
and it's like blood.
Yeah.
And then it just ends with warrior in red font. And then he
Has it-
sees a woman's reflection
Uh-huh.
and he just says, my angel. And then he like dives into the water and swims down deep into the water.
Well, it says my angel, and then underneath it says reasons for living. Those are into two different boxes you were talking about, the yellow and the red. And then he becomes Aquaman.
Yep. And then he goes, my journey home begins now. And he's at the bottom. And then he like shoots up to the top of the water and it says the student is ready.
Oh.
And then he starts fighting these hooded creatures that kind of look like Ewoks.
But they have Ultimate Warrior logos for eyes.
Yeah. And then it's must always create a method, even within madness, moment by moment. He like just basically beats them all up while the terrain is constantly changing behind him.
When you hit somebody when you hit a hooded creature with Ultimate Warrior logos for eyes in the chin, it makes the sound of puck.
Yeah.
P-O-K. Puck.
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 Not to be confused with folk.
Nope. Folk.
So then
I'll go get folked.
he basically just fights these hooded figures for like 7 pages.
Mm-hmm. 7 pages.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then he like rips out like their spinal cord or
Thwack,
something.
thwack, slap, wud, boot, crack, crack, pock, whack, bip, bonk, whomp, and then enough.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then here,
What a guy.
is it? No, I'm
Yet
sorry.
I long for even more. Yeah, he's still
Dude,
now
he
he's fighting.
beats them
Well,
up
but he's
a
kind of fighting in the
long
clouds over
time.
here, right?
See,
and
the
then
terrain changes the whole
yeah,
time
everything changes
while
There's
he
a
fights.
giant
So
lamb.
it's basically like that's all that's happening is he's just fighting these hooded creatures while more nonsense bubbles are behind him. And then he basically, for lack of a better term, I'm just kind of hold on till you get to the next panel.
Yeah.
Because I think he like rips out like one of their spines or something and uses it as like tassels. If you
So I
like
need to
flip-
turn here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Oh wow, yeah. So
Because it doesn't tell you what he does.
death delivers no answer amongst the living, only that we are all capable.
Naked and exposed,
again, that's
brought
not
here
a
protected
sentence.
only by the skin of self.
I take from your physical the very same
The sheath.
the sheath that holds the sword of your beliefs, your soul forever mine.
Forever bound
What
by your
kid is reading
sacrifice.
this?
Right? So then like a flash of lightning and he now is turned into like an orange and red Ultimate Warrior. He's
Yeah.
got a mask.
He's smoking. Like he's been
not
been
like a
struck.
cigarette.
No,
like
no.
physically like
Yeah,
smoke
there's
is.
smoke coming off of him.
Yeah.
And he's like twice as big as he was.
And then it says a synchronous moment held close yet so far away.
Well, he's so big and it just says full blown.
And then we just flash to the city.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's a guy
He's in a
in a coma
uh-huh.
with a girl there with him.
Uh-huh.
And she's crying. She's
Yeah.
sad.
Can't know, don't want to imagine my
life without him. And then the next
Yeah.
page shows
a guy with a very flat head.
and just says, believe this
Uh-huh.
in and of another moment. And that's where it ends.
Wait, that's the end?
That's the end of the first issue.
What the F? Oh, wait, we've got
Oh,
some
wait, is
stuff.
there more?
No, well, I think it's this. Okay.
Oh, I forgot
Now,
about
this does say the meaning of the story I wish to tell upon the pages of Warrior can be captured in one word, belief. Some 24 years ago, around the age of 12, belief became the most important factor in my life. My first encounter with the powers of belief. What? A consciousness of belief. And you gotta understand there are periods in here. A consciousness of belief happened through the power of fantasy, a make-believe friend, if you will. At the time, my friend didn't have a name. This dude is nuts. I mean, because to be honest with you, so the thing ends right with Flathead being real mean looking.
Yeah, well, there's more stuff,
and
but
then
it's not really.
Well, but what I'm saying is, then it goes to like a manifesto. Basically, there's I don't know, a dozen paragraphs here.
Yeah, there's a lot
of just stuff. It's wow, yeah, that's nutty. If somebody brought you that and it wasn't in a comic book, you would go, "Oh, this guy needs help."
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then we go to a part where it's just like line drawings.
Yeah.
No color.
But this is like, I guess, like trying to explain. It's like that woman that we saw in his arms, but it's.
Mm-hmm. I guess this is kind of a flashback.
It is, but it's basically just promoting Warrior University.
Warrior University?
Yeah, you didn't see Warrior University?
Oh.
And it's like a place where you can come to learn to be a warrior.
Did
and
he
it's
sell
like,
steaks like Trump too?
I don't think so.
Warrior steaks.
Oh, I do remember reading this now. It's about this woman who's like, she doesn't get praise. Like she just keeps, get talked down to. Like her mom tells her she wishes she never had been born. And she's like, she wants to take pills and like to kill herself, but then the warrior like saves her and she decides to be a warrior instead and go to Warrior University. Okay. Right. It's weird. I don't know.
And Warrior University, for those of you who don't remember, their catchphrase was always walls built to the outside to learn of the walls within, an institution of higher learning to believe in yourself and the truth within one's intuition, learning to trust the voice of one's own spirit, the higher self, learning to live one's life in a way of the warrior destrucity. That it was tough to fit on a flag, but that was their catchphrase. Yep.
There's also an ad in here, and it's in all of them, for Warrior's World, where he also offers a video workout. But it's not a workout. Okay. You know what it is? Because I saw a clip of it online. It's a video, like mixtape kind of together of him working out and him just like yelling, like
just yelling at you.
Yeah, like you got to be ready and work. Make sure you're in the right mindset. But I love this. He set the still unchallenged. He set the still unchallenged standard for intensity in the world of professional wrestling. Now watch as he power slams the comic book industry with a take no prisoners attitude in storytelling and artwork.
Okay.
Warrior shows no prejudice. It kicks everything from skinny buck to big fat chewy ass.
Okay, I need to do something here. So there is a 1-900 number here at the back. It says the who, what, why, and even where of the one and only Warrior. Call 1-900-288-WAR with 2 R's. I'm going to call that now, and let's see what we get.
Restricted or is unavailable. Please contact customer care for assistance.
Well,
that's too bad.
That's too bad. But you know what, Mike? There's no better place than right now for us to hear a few words from our sponsors.
Please do it. And now, a word from our sponsors.
And welcome back. If you missed us during the break, don't worry. Mike found a customer service number we're trying now.
Yeah, this is the Warrior customer service number. It's Arizona. Come on. We start talking to him. This is the customer service number at Warrior's World.
Please leave your message for 6025664.
Hello, Warrior. I miss you, brother.
That person is going to have the weird.
It's like, what happened? Retailers can inquire about a wholesale price. It says at the bottom of this. That's great.
He's not have done that. Just been like,
hey, I'm looking for a wholesale price. I'd love to get some of this Warrior merchandise, like T-shirts, hats, satin jackets, T-shirts, hats, watches, sweatshirts, T-shirts, staff shirts.
Well, no, it's because each one you can get
hats, gym bags, posters, photo packs, workout belts, collector's T-shirts. Yes, and you're right. It is under different headings here. So there's Warrior Wear, trademark, Warrior University, trademark. Warrior Gym, trademark. And also available, non-trademark. Huh.
Yep.
Boy, that is a lot that's available from Warrior.
So the other issues won't take as long because we have a nice little kind of like premise, obviously.
Fat, chewy ass.
That's it from skinny butt
That's the best.
to... So this is where it takes a turn.
Is this guy ever hospitalized? Like,
I don't think so.
mental facility?
Here's what... This is where it took a turn for me before you open this up because... I'm reading through this and I read the first issue and I'm like, what in the world? Now, a lot of times after I get done reading stuff, then I'll go on and look at stuff through YouTube.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to read through to find like, okay.
Right.
And I got smacked with this on the very next page. If you'll open it up.
Yes. Okay. I do. Can you tell me about the?
Okay. First of all, the cover here, it says mirror image, and it's basically a mirror image of Warrior.
He's like Silver Surfer, but he
looks
like
a mirror
Warrior,
color. He fights a mirror image of himself later.
And he has a snaggletooth dog.
That part
there.
doesn't matter.
Okay. All
You
right,
can
great.
ignore the comic for this because this is where the story gets good
Oh, good.
about
This
the comic book for me.
starts at Warrior University.
It does. So it opens up to a blackboard on the very front page, and it says needs to know. And I'm going to read a little bit of it, but then basically summarize a lot of it because it's a full page of dialogue. He likes to tell you a lot of stuff. But he's basically saying that their buddies over at Fan Magazine have supported their journey in the comic book universe since day one. Yada, yada, yada. Basically, he agreed to meet with two people as he names Mike Rieger and John McGonigal at the Chicago Comic-Con. To make it short, they go and they meet at this French restaurant.
No. It does not say that. It says he met at this foo-foo French place.
But I was trying to just...
Okay, all right.
Here's what I'll keep it short while you read the whole
I don't
thing.
think anybody's going to be offended by the word foo-foo.
No. I'm not cutting out for that. I'm just cutting out for sheer time
gotcha.
to read through the whole thing. But basically, he says that one of the guys tells him to kiss, to keep it simple, stupid.
Sure.
And say that basically issue 1 was very hard to follow. So just keep it simple. Warrior took it as an offense.
Come on.
Says that he shoved a piece of bread down Mike Rieger's throat.
He says he stuck a whole loaf of sourdough, which is not a French bread.
No, so
right?
I don't know. I think he confused French bread for sourdough.
Sure. Stuck it down his throat and proceeded to wee out of there before the local authorities hit the joint.
Yeah. So basically, he then says, he says that once I thought about it, he's right. I probably needed to make things simpler. So here's what I'll tell you.
He calls the police the policia.
He does. He goes, first and foremost, Warriors being challenged upon the terrain of testament. This is an explanation of what we just went over. Okay, Mike? To become the ideal of what a warrior is as a vision to others, i.e., for anything to become something, the idea of it has to be brought to life and simply exist. An example is this comic book or that piece of paper, this iPad that I hold in my hand.
Sure.
And I lost my spot. Oh, before it was called a comic book, somebody had to have it or the idea of it even before it existed.
Yeah.
The next step was to create it. And
He's like
today,
God.
we all know it to be a comic book.
Yeah.
We don't question it. Now, in the comic book industry, you have many different styles of comic book. Still the same, a comic book. Same thing with Warrior. He is being challenged to become the first one. The idea, the definition of warrior, so to speak. The first one to live his life.
You ever notice that
staying
people
true to his own disciplines?
You ever notice that people trying to sound smart say stuff like so to speak and IE and things like that?
The first one willing to die for true to themselves. Willing to die for whatever beliefs they choose.
Okay.
It's hard to tell where punctuation is.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but you're right.
You're
good.
No, please. I cut you off. Yeah.
Use the big words. Yeah. They use all the big words.
Mm-hmm.
Where was that? There we go. They choose. Warrior is being tested in the 8 disciplines. See inside back cover and try to find issue number 1. I guess he thinks that's hot off the shelves, right?
Sure.
His beliefs to be the idea. The ideal warrior, one with such a strength in his beliefs that he is willing to die for them. Enough said. Now,
Wait, he just said enough said.
Now, the telling of the story is happening from 2 points of view, Mike.
Okay.
The first is a take action, aggressive, outward expression. A can of kick butt is getting ready to be opened.
It doesn't say that. It says a can of butt kick.
Oh, I'm sorry, butt kick.
It's not even in the right order.
No.
It's butt kick.
Point of view. And secondly, an introspective, intuitive inner self. Let's think this situation through point of view. The former one done. Here's my favorite part of this, though, Mike. You ready?
Yes.
The former one done in red caption and the latter in pale yellow. Red representing the explosive side of the warrior,
Sure.
while yellow represents the integrity of his thoughts. His folk. Remember? Focus. His folk.
Got it. Yeah.
Note, warrior number 1 has colors reversed. Then why not just keep it the same?
That's what I don't understand.
So we completely changed colors of what the thought bubbles meant.
Sure.
We've tried to explain it. Also, beginning in this issue, the belief banners, which are ribbons warrior ties around his arms, show life for the first time and therefore speak. This issue, the belief banners and their personalities plus importance will become more evident. So there you have it. Oh, they're also in purple. They're represented by purple colored balloons. So we have a comic now to explain for you if you can't listen at home that is being told from 2 points of view. Has speech bubbles in yellow and red that represent 2 different sides of warrior. His ribbons talk in a balloon that is purple. And also in this giant note, he has told you that he assaulted a guy with some sourdough and also felt the need. Here's might be my favorite part of it.
Yeah.
At the very bottom,
Yeah.
there is a key, like if you were looking at a map.
That's what I was going to say. You've written a lot of stuff.
I have.
How often do you have to include a key?
Never.
Yeah.
But there's a key for the word warrior. And it has different colored stars by it. Above, when it was used with the yellow star, it was
Sure.
specifically the title of the comic. When it was used above with the blue star, that was him. That's right. Character warrior and real life person. When it was the red warrior, generally speaking, as in he is a great warrior, but not the one. So
I can imagine a time when our society has crumbled and aliens have visited the planet and they're trying to figure out what happened.
yeah.
Right? And this is all that's left. This diatribe here, this is me trying to be smart. This diatribe of just word vomit on this page. I can't imagine a child picking this up and going, "Daddy, I'm lost. What does this mean?"
Yeah.
This is crazy. When challenging yourself, include your mind, by the way.
Yeah. So
Knowledge is power,
we can
always believe.
breeze through this because, again, the comic, as weird as it is not the fun part of this story for me.
Well, what I like right here on the very first panel is it looks like there's a guy leaving with his gym bag, a guy walking in. One of them says, "Pencil me in," and the other one says, "Get a life, musclehead."
Yeah.
I don't even know what they're referring to.
Don't know what. You're not going to figure out anything. Here's
Okay.
the highlights of this.
This is outside of Warrior University, by the way.
Yeah, outside of Warrior University. We're going to basically what we do is we split time between the real world with Warrior and then the terrain of Testament with the other warrior who's battling to become the first warrior. That's the best way I can explain it, or the best warrior. I don't know, the true warrior. Highlights of this comic include some guy touching another guy's shirt and him thinking he's going to steal it from him. That's not how you steal shirts. There's a giant blast that comes into where we find out Warrior was in the coma. And it's like a giant spirit from somewhere out in the galaxy. We're going to find out later that that's like basically a bad spirit inhabiting Warrior.
Yeah.
It's never really brought. I mean, it's kind of explained a little bit, but that's it. Then we go back to the terrain of Testament.
He's trying to steal my Abplex shirt.
Yeah. Here's what I thought was weird. There is so usually in comics, have you ever seen one where you had to turn it sideways to get the full view?
No, I have not. Yeah, that is weird.
So that was a weird thing. There's a part in this issue where it's like the fold
so
in the middle. You have to turn
big.
it sideways
Yeah.
to show off what It's the arrival of the mirror image is what that is, that he battles. He fights his beast. He fights the mirror image. He wins.
Oh boy, this has adult language in it too.
Oh, it has a lot. But find if
when he finally wakes up from his coma, he goes, "Fall."
Yeah, they do that whole little like just cut off right before the K.
Wait, what does that say?
I can't.
Skrunk.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a skrunk.
Skrunk. Sure.
There's also I might miss them as I'm breezing through because again, to me, this isn't the best, or the story isn't the main story here.
Yeah.
So yeah, he just keeps fighting this guy. Whatever. Who cares?
What in the fuck?
Yeah, he does it again. He uses he uses jet jacked is the word that he uses, which is like adrenaline or like amped up.
Oh, neat.
Issue 3
uses the word offa also.
Yeah.
Instead of get off of me, it's get off of me. OFFA. Get off of me. What does it mean when he's speaking in red?
Red is the aggressive side.
Okay, sure.
So then the third issue is more of the same. He includes the same.
Remember, kids, keep your key handy as you're reading through this.
He does. And he
adventure.
includes at the beginning of each issue then.
Oh, nice.
Here, I'll go ahead and give you the third one then so you get into right after.
Yeah.
Again, there's only 4. And again, just flip through at your leisure because the story does not matter.
Sure.
Just because it makes no sense. Because what happens is Warrior in the real life, we find out, is basically like inhabited by an evil spirit from the Terrain of Testament kind of thing.
Terrain of Testament.
So he's like a real asshole. Like this kid asks for his autograph and he, tells him to basically get away from him. And the girl that he's with is like, hey, he's just not himself right now.
Yeah.
And he tells her, don't you make excuses for me. And he gets out of the limo that picks him up from the hospital, and his butler or the driver has the wheelchair that he was in. He goes, your wheelchair, sir, allow me. And he goes, are you effing kidding me? And he throws the wheelchair like up into space. Let's also
Why
remind
is there
you,
a green baby in this?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
A green baby shows up.
Yeah.
Turns into a green child.
All of it was written by Warrior.
Okay.
It is inked
that makes total
and
sense.
it's like done. The art's by Callahan. Mm-hmm. But all the story and stuff is Warrior.
Yeah. This is madness.
Yeah. So basically, evil Warrior in the real world just leaves his girlfriend. Regular or Ultimate Warrior, whatever he is in the Terrain of Testament. I'm so confused now.
Yeah.
Other Place Warrior is running, and all of a sudden a plane's crashing out of nowhere. I don't know how there are people on the Terrain of Testament.
Okay.
This whole thing makes no sense. It's like the Valjet. I'm just going to read part of this.
Yeah. Because
it's a plane crashing and like catching on fire with people on it. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, what you're going to know, and I'm not diving into it because it's a lot of, mumbo jumbo he believed in stuff. And that's just kind of weird and out there. But this one, just to me, it's like Mayday. We got major flames. Jesus. It's the curse of the spawn. These are what passengers are saying as it's going down. He says it's the curse of the spawn while he's holding a Spawn comic book. And then one guy says, oh, that's what it was. I forgot about that. Hold on, Mike.
Hey, hang on. I need to refer to something here.
Is it in that one or is it in this one?
This one, when he gets out of the hospital.
Is it the doctor?
The doctor says, man,
Yes.
I got some preposterous flatulence. And then in the next panel, we've got his fans who I guess are being, okay, whoever did this is not great at hands because everybody's got their hands in their pockets. There's one guy up front wearing a Dark Side Comics shirt. The guy next to him is wearing a shirt with a mouth open that says, get beefed, eat sushi. And then for some reason, Ren and Stimpy are in this.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, too.
Why are Ren and Stimpy in this?
Don't know. And if you keep going, Mike, later, when the plane crashes,
yeah,
then I'm like, he's just, so this is Evil Warrior. When the plane crashes, though, I told you about the guy complaining about the spawn. There's a guy on an oxygen mask that says, man, I just shit my pants. This can't be real.
Wow.
So, I don't know why this plane is crashing. And then the pilot goes, we're going to die. And the other pilot says, shut the hell up, you born again freak. And yes, you certainly can kiss your ass. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Here's what I don't understand. is at this point, like, I don't get where the born again comes from because there's no reference whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just seems like he just felt the need to put it in there.
Okay.
And again, he self-published it. He can put whatever he wants to in.
Yeah. And he did.
And he did.
Sure.
But then, so the plane crashes, and here's another thing that you will find out about Ultimate Warrior is he goes to save people from the wreckage because a hand breaks out, and his tassels that can talk say, "Stop him. Evolution has no place for altruism." That's right. We don't need to take care of people.
Okay.
So,
This one guy's melting.
yeah, and he just leaves them. Instead, he goes and he decides to kill a two-headed snake instead.
Okay.
Don't know why.
Sure.
And then he winds up at like this emerald-looking city on the Terrain of Testament. Back in the real world.
Hang on.
Okay.
After he kills the two-headed snake, it goes splatter. And then he breaks into like this pose, like you've seen the Ultimate Warrior many times where he's got both arms to his sides, and he's really flexing his muscles. And apparently that makes the sound of Swazisnip.
Swazisnip.
And then he says, "Sacrifices in the name of Destrucity." Wow. That's great. Good deal.
Yep.
And
back
now
in the
we're at Slippery's Pool and Suds.
There you go. At Slippery's Pool and Spuds. They just
Spool
I
and
couldn't get
suds.
that out.
Yeah.
It's just pulling potatoes. Pulling spuds.
That's not a bad business plan.
Nah, it's not really.
Sure.
Warrior's just drinking there. Somebody in the bar decides to act tough and try to beat him up, and he ends up like just taking everybody out in there.
Yeah.
Like just straight up murking fools.
But he's got like a high kick that he puts to this guy's chin.
Yeah.
And he's wearing a shirt that says Mambo.
Yep. Well, then on the next page.
Hey, butt breath. Can't you read? The sign says no smoking. Hey, butt breath.
Then at the end of it, we get like a warrior and it says number 4 coming out, like hyping the next issue. We get another page about, hey, this is what Destrucity is again. You get an ad for Spawn's War of Retribution. So Spawn had an ad in here. You get an ad for Chaos Comics. So he's, able to get some. And then there's Warrior Wisdom coming in issue number 4. In your face, up your nose, riding your ass, cutting you no slack. Is what it says.
Up your nose.
Yep.
Okay.
And then it gives the whole explanation again. And then, Mike, that is what caught my eye at the end of the third one. You see the color ad there? Or the ad it's an ad with a bunch of crayons behind it, right? Can you read that? I mean, it's hard to read because of the font.
Ultimate Creations Inc. Warrior is looking for artists who are up to more than just crayon crushing, pencil shoving, and ink dipping no good. What is this shit artwork? We can also do without the ball busting give me $500 a page plus royalties.
Title and deed.
Title and deed to all the pages, attitude of these assholes. But if you are wanting to show the world just how fraggin' good you are and get a fair price while you're setting the record straight, we might be interested in seeing your stuff. If you're an established artist who loves what you do but are looking to get paid fairly and regularly and are of a healthy ego,
which is funny to me because Warrior was never of a healthy ego.
Not an overblown one. Warrior, that's not the end of a sentence.
That's not the person. It's Warrior the comic.
Sure, Warrior could be the project where your voice is heard best throughout the comic industry. But don't expect me to listen to it. Wait, what?
Yeah, no.
Seriously, if you're serious, send your goods, your artwork, Einstein, to Always Believe in Warrior, Ultimate Creations, Inc., 15560 North Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard, Suite B-1-409, Scottsdale, Arizona, 85260.
So I was like, that's weird. And yeah.
So he fired his artists at the end of this comic. Yeah.
To Jim Callahan with pencils and ink. And then I get to, you know what? Before we get there, let me save that because let me show you in between this time because there was some time off.
Sure. No, come on.
There was a little bit of time off from issue 3 to issue 4 where a Christmas special came out.
Oh, boy.
And all that is just a collection. I think basically somebody was given the phrase Ultimate Warrior Saves Christmas because it's just a page full of pinups. Like that's all this is. in here, and it's Ultimate Warrior Ez. Like, he's scaring kids apparently on Christmas.
Yeah. He's in their house.
Just wait. There's one that we're going to get to that when we get to. There he is choking out the Grinch.
The Grinch, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
There he is, I guess, like listening to
He's
kids.
like a mall Santa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's killing something.
Yeah, and
I
there's
can't
eyeballs
tell.
popping out.
There we go.
What am I looking at here? He's got Santa in chains at the North Pole, and I guess he's whipping him. Big fat Santa with big boobs.
I don't think he's whipping him. That's his. Remember the banners on his.
Those are his banners that talk and live.
Yeah. But it's super weird. Yeah, he's got
it's like
Santa.
an S&M fantasy with Santa.
Yeah.
Huh.
So it's kind of super weird.
Well, that's neat.
There's also one of him with like, I guess, severed elf heads, but he's having the elves work for him.
You gotta take those elves out.
I think he's helping the homeless. I can't tell what he's doing in that one. Yeah. He's picking up a truck.
Picking up a truck, and there's bad guys. Then there he is with a teddy bear, but I guess that's his comic down at the bottom.
I think that's what that's supposed to be.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, boy. Yeah. So now we've got a big fat Santa in his underwear laying on the ground. He looks like he's been assaulted. He has a bottle of whiskey and a whiskey glass that's fallen over. And then Ultimate is putting on Santa's pants. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what happened here.
It's funny, too, because if you look, it's kind of odd. Did you notice that, too, Mike?
Are we talking about the white stuff on Santa?
Yeah.
Or the shit on the floor?
Wait, is there shit on the floor? Oh, there is. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody's like, oh, it's supposed to be sweat.
That's some awful opaque sweat.
I think whoever drew this, and I'm trying to remember. Oh, it was Callahan.
Oh,
okay.
Boy.
It looks like.
I think Callahan threw in something there.
It looks like Ultimate Warrior sexually assaulted Santa.
It does. It looks like he has relieved himself right on Santa's big fat butt.
And so that's the
whole
his
thing.
Arm. No, that was the Christmas. It was just pinups. That's all the Christmas thing was. No
what
story.
A special Christmas that was that year.
So then we get issue number 4, which is the last issue here. Mike,
so this is like 3.5.
Tell me if you notice anything different.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah, it's drawn very poorly. Well, I mean, I guess
it's not poorly. It's just
it's all black
different.
and white.
It's all black and white. There is no color in the 4th issue whatsoever.
So squished,
and it is a completely different art style.
Yeah, it is. This is one of those people who wrote in.
Yep. This is done by it's Sharp Boys.
Sharp Boys, sure.
Right. So everything's different.
Well, they could get over themselves. They didn't bring their inflated ego.
So for me, I could have read through this and I kind of like,
crap, this is hard to read.
Yes. I could have read through it and I like flipped through to try to follow it some, but like it was just too much for me. There's a scene here where somehow he like goes through, there's so much detail. It's too much detail in some of it. I don't even know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and that's what I mean, but there's something.
It makes total sense. It's like it's like a you remember those or you've seen some of those like Keep On Trucking comics and stuff from like the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, the big eyeball and all that stuff, and just the amazing detail that's in these things. This is what this reminds me of. It's so friggin' detailed.
So I'm trying to read I'm trying to read through this and follow it the best that I can. And I know what's going on kind of in general, that this is now 1997. I think he is out of wrestling again. He has been fired again for the 3rd time from WWF. And this is before the WCW run. I bring that up because there's a quote in here where it goes, one more stop for, where's this at? Oh, it goes, and I got to tell you, Warrior handed it to them on a silver platter. First he gouges Vince McMahon's eyes by giving him the F off, and now this.
Oh, man.
unbelievable. This has got to be sports entertainment's greatest hour. So I'm like, he's taking shots at Vince already. And I was like, oh yeah, he's not with the company anymore. So he's getting stuff out. And there's a tag on the end of this where it just says next issue. And so they tease the next issue, but there's not one. But then there's this thing called Warrior's Wisdom.
Wait, lose the insipid attitude. Shit for sense.
Yeah.
Shit for sense.
It makes no sense. Like, I can't describe the story because I don't.
Hey, Catch, did you snatch all the ephedrine canisters?
Yeah.
What is this? Like, it's like a Mad Max kind of thing or what?
In a way.
Huh. What was latent is now active. The physical begins to actuate. Millions of complex, intricate faculties answered by one act, movement, each corresponding to another's call, pushing forth the greatest machine man has ever known, the human body, its potential unknown, its creator, oneself. Wow. And then, like Howard Stern's on TV down here. My goodness, folks. I haven't been baffled by many of these things that you've brought to me, Zach.
Yeah.
But this is baffling.
So I'm like, he's going after Vince. And then I get to the very end. Do you remember when
This does feel like somebody just trying to drive you insane. I mean, this is like, this is
if it were in
nutty.
color, it would help a lot. I think it's it being all in black and white.
I guess.
I don't know, but it's
I don't know, man. Hello, biggin.
so. But at the very end,
Yeah. Yeah, let's
and
go
I don't mean to rush you.
No.
but-
You're very, very good.
But-
I just kind of I'm getting lost
So we
in
get
this thing.
you're
Yeah,
right,
right
there.
here?
At the very end,
Okay. Warrior wisdom.
Warrior Wisdom. You
I
see
can't
how
read
hard
any of
that is to
Yeah.
read?
No, that's too many words.
It's super hard even on like the digital version.
Yeah.
Because they put black font on gray and there's some on red and then red on white, which is so hard to read, and then white on. So like you can't read any of this.
There is so much here.
It is 4 pages. And I was like, what in the world? And I look, and you want to know what the title of it is?
Huh.
Callahan is a piece of shit. That's what it says at the very top, Mike.
It does say
And so
that. That's
I'm going to give some credit here because I found this on, I had to look for this, and it's on something, Google search, so let me pull it up. It's on the somethingawful.com, the forms from there. Somebody by the name of, and I don't know if their name is Added Space. I think, Added Space. And I think he and his wife or girlfriend, he goes, thanks to Miss Space for helping me read this section that were nearly illegible due to bad coloring. Mm-hmm. So do you want to know? And that's the thing is it ends after that note, just the end. Mm-hmm. Number 5 ships in May. Number 5 never shipped. Basically, he goes, Callahan, this is a piece of shit. You heard me. Don't just take my word for it. Let me tell you the story.
Okay.
And all 4 pages is that story, Mike.
Yeah.
Here's what I can tell from it because I just could not read. Like some of it looks like it cut out and like there's some you can't put together. So you can't put together the whole thing.
Okay.
But he lays out like, hold on. I want to find I don't want to read the whole letter because we'd be here all day.
Yeah, please don't.
But let me find some of the.
I feel like it's one of those things that if you read it out loud, it would
it's
drive
time.
us insane.
Here he goes. So it's time someone took a stand and lanced this boil because he's talking about so-called experts are writing a lot about the problems in the comic industry, but few dare point the accusing finger. He's taken upon himself to do it.
Oh, thank
he
God.
says, I'm pointing the finger at irresponsible artists who claim attention deficit syndrome. We didn't call it attention deficit disorder at that time. Apparently, we called it attention deficit syndrome in 97.
Sure.
As an excuse to leave their work unfinished and flit from one publisher to another. Any young buck can put out a book or two, but only experience can show anyone has the endurance to reliably produce. So he goes on and on. And he's like, it's up to me to set an example. And I offer up as a sacrifice one Jim Callahan. And then he just starts laying into him. Talks about how much they agreed to per page, his penciling deal, how they got done on 3, and that he had some health problem that he told him about. And then that he paid him his money up front for, like, he's putting it all in this letter. He paid him his money up front for issue 4 because he knew he was having a procedure. Can't talk now. He talked about that. Like,
Well, this will do that to you. That's what I'm
He was
saying.
like,
Yeah. I think
Warrior says that, you told me about your health problems and I told you, oh, you should probably have that fixed sooner rather than later, but you didn't listen to me. Then you finally, it came to a time where you needed to have it fixed and I paid you ahead of time so you could have that, procedure done. And then you still didn't give me a book. Oh, you'll give it to me this time. Oh, you'll give it to me that time. You never did it. He was like, the state of California courts or whatever for child custody have called me because I gave you money to pay for that. He was like, I can't believe that you'd be such a scumbag, like not to take care of your kids.
What a guy.
And dude, he is just lambasting them through this whole thing. So that's what I found. And it goes, I'll just read the last part of his letter,
please.
I guess, just to sum it up.
Sure.
You may be asking me why I'm going on at such lengths about this. One word, responsibility. Take 20 minutes and go and listen to the news. The whole world's perception of right and wrong has become crazy. People like Callahan get sympathy and told about how hard life is. Chances are his newborn again. Oh, that's the thing too. Sorry, I didn't include that. He also brings up the fact that at one point in time, like your kids called me Uncle Warrior and my wife Aunt Dana, and you had them, they loved reading our books. Now they can't read my books because of the filth that's in there and stuff because you're crazy and you're born again. And he's like, I bet your born again friends are telling you I'm the Antichrist. It's okay to steal money from the Antichrist. Like he's doing stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was about to get to that line. Sorry. Yeah. The whole world's perception of right and wrong. Chances are his newborn again friends have convinced him that I'm the Antichrist. It's not wrong to cheat and steal from the Antichrist, Jimmy. How evil I am telling. Yeah, so he calls him Jimmy. How evil I am telling people to take control of their own lives instead of letting the church do it. Jim Callahan is the kind of person Mike Reniger of Fan Magazine, the guy who got bread shoved down his throat, talked so vaguely about. Hey, Callahan, when I come for you, don't bother looking over your shoulder. I'll be looking for you right in the eyes. Irresponsibility is irresponsibility. No excuse. Tolerating it just allows the system to crumble. Ever wonder why more people aren't called out? It's because telling the truth takes courage. When you accuse someone, you put your own actions and credibility on the line. I'll stand by all my words and actions. That is how I live. Challenge me if you want. I am Warrior, and I am ultimately responsible.
Presented by Ultimate Creations of Scottsdale, Arizona. Warrior whereabouts. Call 1-900-288-WARR. $2.95 a minute, 18 plus, touch tone only, updated every 72 hours. If you are under 18, ask mom or dad for permission.
So that is where this ends. Like, again, I could spend so much time, and there's a lot of time you can talk about just the craziness that was the Ultimate Warrior.
So you teased this with me about it being nuts, but I did not realize that it was this insane.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
like I couldn't finish it to tell you what it was about.
No, this is literally a crazy person that has been given a platform.
But what I did discover that was better to me was the fact, the underneath story of it, of how he produces a comic book. Mm-hmm. People in the industry tell him it's too hard to read. He assaults the guy for doing that, apparently, or he wants you to with bread.
Sure.
And then it's like, oh, he's right. It tries to explain it. Super confusing. Still doesn't help. Has to include the key, like in every issue. That already should tell you it's bad. By the third issue, is having problems with his colorist, and takes an ad out in his own comic, which I guess that's the place to do it if you own it.
I guess.
Then finds a completely another artist to take over. And has a letter at the end of it, a 4-page letter blasting the previous one.
Well, it's Sharp Boys.
Yeah. It was fun and funny to me, and it's just so fantastic.
Weird. Yeah. And here's the thing, man. I don't want to belittle like mental health issues, right?
No.
But you can clearly tell there is something wrong with this guy.
And that's the thing too, is I think the best way to put it is in the comment that I've heard from Jim Cornette when he told the story on his podcast. I think I played it for you a little bit. Is he talks about they left they left the meeting with Warrior.
Yeah.
And he looked at them and was like, did you guys understand an effing thing he just said?
Yeah.
And they go, yeah, that's just Warrior.
Wow.
But like the stories that were told,
I've been watching a lot of like true crime stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And the underlying issue with most of the true crime things is that they let mental health issues go unchecked. You know, that happens a lot in these things. And this feels like one of those things. I don't know that this guy ever committed terrible acts, but he sure feels like it. Because boy, when you go from this first issue and you just start kind of thumbing through stuff, right?
Well, he had nothing to do with the very first
I get
one,
that.
but-
I get that. But again, you go from there and then you go into a pretty impressive looking comic. You know, it feels kind of like Spawnish or something to it, right? I mean, these are the same kind of guys here producing this stuff. And then you get into some of the black and white with the weird story. Now you've started getting into more of the
Weird.
Well, it's not. It's again. He's got like this manifesto. That's the only way I know to describe it. It's a manifesto that's played out as a comic book, basically. And I think the guy probably believed all these things.
Oh no, for sure.
Wow, how many times you got to get hit in the head? Wow. Woof. Okay. Well, good job.
If you want to, if you're interested,
Sorry about your insanity.
huh?
Sorry about your coming insanity.
That's fine. It's definitely. I will tell you, I am a huge wrestling fan, and it's not in a way of like, well, I'll say like I can enjoy and I appreciate, and I've told Mike this before. I can enjoy and appreciate like really just good matches. Like I enjoy two people putting on and just what they're able to accomplish.
Yeah.
It's not one of those, like, I know people want to be the whole, like, oh, it's, predetermined. That's fine.
Whatever.
It's
theater.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's live. It's close to live theater. Like, it's live physical theater.
Yeah.
So, but I enjoy what they do and I think it takes talent. And I've always just been more to me, cause it's very much like, just these larger than life people. And I've always gravitated to the behind the scenes things.
Yeah.
So like, how do you have like so many type A personalities in like one place? Like how do you have like, you hear all these crazy stories about things they did, like the ways they act and stuff like that. So if you ever want to go down a rabbit hole and just see some more crazy, Ultimate Warrior is a great place to start.
That's the guy. Yeah.
He might not be the worst, but he
Who would you say is the worst?
like the worst. How so?
I don't know.
I'll tell you. Like
That's what I'm saying. I mean, like who's
here's what I'll tell you.
the worst you've heard of? Like personality wise, that kind of thing, actions.
He was. I've heard a lot of people like
He really is.
was one of the
right?
toughest. Yeah. Nobody liked working with him.
Yeah.
But not even just like wrestling with him. Like I heard Mean Gene Okerlund talk about how like doing promos and stuff with him. Like
Yeah.
you never understood what he said. Like
Yeah.
it was just so hard.
Yeah.
Um,
You tend to forget that these are real people.
yeah, but
you
they're
know?
like but it's like Hulk Hogan's up there too.
Yeah.
Because
I don't imagine. Yeah.
that's the thing. I don't think there is, and I don't want to get sued, so I don't want to say it like that. How can I say it?
You know, one of the
I
things.
think it could be argued by some people maybe that there could or couldn't maybe be a bigger liar out there than Terry Bollea, aka Hulk Hogan.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Well,
I think through his actions, we've seen a lot of that.
yeah. Well, I just remember like watching, like, you remember MTV Cribs?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember they did an episode with him and like they go through and he's showing stuff off and he's like, oh, these are the boots that I wore during WrestleMania 3 when I slammed Andre the Giant. I was the first person to slam Andre the Giant. It's also sad, a couple days later, man, he passed away after that too. A couple things wrong with that story.
Yeah.
First of all, Hulk Hogan was not. If Andre had let other people slam him, obviously he had to be comfortable with you and it needed to work for what they were doing, but he'd done it before.
Right.
I'm pretty sure Big John Studd had slammed him before.
Yeah.
I know way too much about this stuff. But then also, WrestleMania 3 happened in 1988, 87.
Okay.
87 happened in 1987. Andre the Giant died in 1991. So he's off by about 4 years.
Sure.
And it's just things like that all the time. Of just
What's the
retelling.
next day to him? Yeah.
It's, the story about how he was supposed to be the drummer or was a guitar player in Metallica. Like
Hulk Hogan?
Yeah, dude, there's like...
He told that story?
Yeah. There's a lot of crap like that out there.
Yikes.
It's hilarious. It's
All right.
entertaining.
What we
But
got?
we're not going to dive into wrestling next week. I was trying to. We're going to say
this was great though, by the way. Yeah,
it was out there. I know.
and we got a peek at your obsession with wrestling. Yeah,
it is. It's that in sport. Like there's things in life that I just have always loved and always dove in. Usually when I love something, I dive in head first. And comic books were always something like that. Wrestling was always something like that. Sports in general was always something like that.
Yeah.
So always that kind of guy. And there's just stuff that you just end up like hanging on to and storing that you don't realize until like you start talking. You're like, blah, 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 and you start spitting it all out. And you're like, man, all right, I really, I do know more about it than I think. I'm trying to look at the schedule because we talked about it a little bit last week, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
We have a 1 year anniversary coming up. And it's going to be.
That just floors me, by the way.
I know.
That's crazy.
So our current issue episode, if you're listening to it right now, it is the week of June 6th.
Yeah.
But our first show debuted on June 14th of 2021.
Wow.
So how about we will do I'll do a 1 year special in a way.
Yeah.
And we'll do it the week. So next week we'll do a 1 year special.
Okay.
And we'll go back to a superhero that people know. It's my favorite superhero, which is Batman. But we're going to focus on a story from the 80s that has been described as some as
not Brickbat.
Not Brickbat.
Okay.
No, that was 7-Eleven.
Sure.
Which go back and listen to 7-Eleven. Great episode. That was fun.
Brickbat.
We are going to get back to some more of those ridiculous
sure.
public domain characters. We just need to kind of dabble out a little bit. But there's a book. It was kind of a graphic novel, a prestige format kind of a story told in 4 parts called Batman the Cult in 88. Some people describe it, they love it. It's one of the like under the radar, like really good books. Some people call it a very weird, kind of strange book.
Right.
It introduces Deacon Blackstone, which is a character that I know has appeared in the Arkham video game. So I think for our anniversary, unless we just start doing, because there's 3 versions. Remember, there's 3 iterations of Black Condor. Unless we did the first one, I focus on the middle Black Condor. Do we want to do, you know what? It didn't happen long. I think I'll throw that in too.
Okay.
It feels like for each anniversary special, we'll also cover another version of Black Condor. So I'll do the
jam-packed episode.
I'll do so next week we got Batman Cult and, or maybe I'll even do it the week after, but we'll tease it as part of the 1 year anniversary. We'll also give you another look at Black Condor maybe then
Wonderful.
too. So that's what you can expect coming up. As always, we appreciate you listening. Find us on Instagram, BroFoHero, or email us, brosfoesandheroes@gmail.com. Also, make sure to check out Rogue Media Network as well, the great family of podcasts that I get to be a part of, that we all are a part of, and tons of great stuff out there to listen, aside from us too. So make sure to check that out too. Mike, anything you'd like to...
Man, I just want to, as we approach this 1 year anniversary, I just want to thank you again for bringing this concept and for all the great research you do.
Well, thank you.
I mean, seriously, I mean, that's not a joke.
If anything, to the 12 of you that are listening, we appreciate it. And
more than 12.
if anything, okay, the 14
13,
of you that are I was
Yeah,
close.
you overshot.
I did. But if anything, like it helped. It's something I look forward to every week of just being able to sit here,
super fun,
and talk to Mike. We have comics, we have something to talk about, but he usually drives off to everything else. But we have fun doing it. So as always, appreciate you and look forward to many, many more weird and crazy stuff in the future here as well. But until next time, stay safe, everybody.
You got a gun. Get folked.
Bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.